Okay, so this is what we're making today. A few days ago, somebody posted this really awesome bead cross, asked, how do you make it? So Tiff gave it a shot. She posted it, and the response was pretty cool. Everybody liked it, and they all said that you have to do 2 tutorials. So that's what we're doing today. And instead of just typing up a reply and doing a bunch of screenshots or whatever, we're going to have Tiff here to help us out today. Yeah, so the design itself is not that hard to make. The structure throws you off a little bit. There's this little cross piece in the middle here that's clearly 2 sets of thicker wires, or 1 set of 2 thicker wires. And then you have all these thin wires sprouting out of the top. And what are those things up there? And then, well, that would mean that these are 2 straight wires here, but how come they're not falling out? But we'll show you all that stuff in the video, but it's actually really easy to make. And we have some sparkle shots coming at the end of all the different colorways that we made. Enjoy the video, you guys.
Okay, so first we are going to start with, well, I used
20 gauge
wire for the, skeleton of the grass, I guess. The structure of it. That is kind of tricky though, because the drill holes need to be big enough to fit the 20 gauge as well as this thin wire that's going to go in there. So also recommend 22 gauge. I probably wouldn't go any thinner than 24 gauge because then it defeats the purpose of having this rigid inner structure anyway. I also used 28 gauge wire for threading the little bicones, which is extremely thin. That's the only way you can really stuff everything into the holes. So I would say I probably used, just to be safe, I mean, you're going to waste some wire, but I think I used about 24 inches. So, and then the beads I'm using are 3mm little bicones, 4mm bicones. That's the name of this crystal shape, this bead, because it's like 2 cones mirrored or on top of each other. So yeah, and then 8mm bicones, and my personal take on the cross was adding some different shapes. So I'm using 8mm center drill teardrops here and 10 or 11mm center drill teardrops. So personally, when I start, I like to try and straighten my inner structure wire, the base wire. I would say if you are going to use the exact same size beads, I don't know what beads you have on hand, but if you are going to use this size, I would cut at least, just to be safe, 4 inches. This is 20 gauge. I might have to change this through the middle of the video if it doesn't fit into the beads, which is always annoying, but what can you do? So that's going to be the vertical part of the cross, and then I'm just straightening. I just straighten stuff by hand. I know there's tools for this, but it helps if you rotate and then you can see where things need to be bent straight. That looks pretty good. So I would say this horizontal part is maybe, let's go 2.5 inches just to be safe. Yep. And, I might need to switch to the thinner wire. So we're going to put those aside. And then we are going to grab our really thin wire. I like to fold it in half. So I just take the 2 ends. It's not going to be a hard fold, but just like a soft fold. So you just give it a light squish just so that it goes like that. And then this is how I decided to start this. I don't know who came up with this execution of the cross, but it's brilliant. If anyone knows, I would love to give credit. So once you thread your 3mm bead into the fold, you kind of want it to see if you want it to kind of lay straight up and down, because it might want to like go sideways. So keep it upright, and then we shall, whatever layout you do, I'd recommend laying it out on a piece of paper first or something. On my layout, we are doing, where is it? This is the layout I will be using today. So I'm going to grab the 11mm teardrop. 28. I'm using nickel silver because stainless steel might be a little bit too stiff for this. I am using stainless steel. Sorry, I forgot to mention. It's using stainless steel for the base wire. But this, because it needs to like fold and stuff in there, and you want something that's a little bit softer, and nickel silver, it's still kind of stiff, but you know, not as hard as stainless steel. So next I am threading 3 bicones in the color layout of this here. So we got 1, 2, 3 bicones plus the teardrop. I have that here. And then I'm kind of like really pulling it taut, and then I'm going to separate the 2 wires. I'm still pulling it taut, and then I'm just like splitting them open. And that kind of keeps the beads in place. So then next we will thread a 4mm bicone. I don't know if I would use any other shape because I think the angular nature of these beads makes them kind of lock into place, which is, I think, part of what makes this design work so well and so interesting. I'm going to thread another bicone and another teardrop since we are following this layout here. We're doing this side right here. So if you can see, this is one arm of the cross taking shape. And this part gets a little bit tricky. Everything we've done so far is the easiest part. And then you gotta put the little terminating bead on and thread it back into the teardrop. So you don't want to go through the small 3mm bicone. You just want to go through these 2 beads, and you also don't want to go through this center spacer. There we go. And then I like to turn it vertical while I'm threading this so that the bead rests against that, because with such a tight, space, once the wire gets kinked up, it's really hard to get it to do anything you want. So this way, the bead's already in the position you want, and I'm kind of bracing this center bead like this. Before you pull it all the way tight, though, I would recommend checking and make sure there's not too much slack right here, because if this is loose, it just doesn't really work as well. So you might need to kind of pull it taut, push the little bead back down, and then continue. If I didn't mess that up. Okay. And sometimes you can see if you can use your nail and, I don't know, squish the wire down a little bit. Try and pull it tight. There's a little bit of slack, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, doing the next side now. I haven't really figured out like what the best sequence is. So if you guys try it and you see something obvious that would be better, just, feel free to let me know. Okay, so now we are going to thread this into, did it go in? Whoops. Oh God, is it gonna go? Yeah. Please go. Yay. Okay. So I'm gonna try and pull that tight again. Yeah. Okay. So now we have to do this step. Also, it's bent out of shape. You want to undo that if you can, because, with the beads on there, it gets a little hard to straighten stuff. What was I doing? Oh yeah, okay. We're threading this on. For repeating the steps on the other side with a slight difference. We got the bones of the structure in place. So now you actually have to, after you thread the 4mm bicone with the thin wire, now you need to thread the beads onto both wires. So you're going to thread it on the thicker base wire and then do the next thing. Gee, I hope this fits. I mean, we can always change the thickness if it doesn't. You don't want to push too hard because then you might make the wire poop out of there. So let's see. I would recommend if it feels snug already when you're putting, you should definitely like test your beads, make sure it's going to fit everything you want to stuff in there. But if you feel friction when you do this, abort. Do not continue because it will get totally hair. You're going to have to cut the whole thing apart if it doesn't work. So, okay. So what I do is I will actually take my cutters and try and just grab as close to the bead as I can. And I just make like a tiny mark so that I can see where the wire kind of nestled into the bead. And I'm going to cut slightly before that just so that it can really hide inside of these. I might need to do some jiggling. Sometimes jiggling helps. Jiggling always helps. Everything. Okay. What? Oh, is this one? You might need to like, tighten things up. Okay. So, sorry, keep getting too close. The wire is hidden in there. Now we are going to take the 3mm bicone. You could probably use any shape for this side because it doesn't matter. We're going to do the same thing. Thread back into there. Please fit. This is going to be tricky because if it gets too kinked up, no! Well, there goes that bead. I'll have to grab a new one. All right, let me try straightening this. Yeah, because if it's a tight fit, any sort of kink or wave is going to cause it to not want to go in. And honestly, this method is kind of tricky. I like using 20 gauge because it just feels so sturdy. There it is. It's coming through to the center. It just feels so sturdy. Like I'm obsessed with things feeling sturdy. I dropped one of these earlier today and even with the 20 gauge steel, it just got bent out of shape. So I can't imagine using something thinner, but using something thinner would probably make things easier. Okay, so we are making, letting the bicone nestle against the teardrop. And then when you pull, I would recommend putting force here because if you grab here, you're going to pull the thing out and then you're going to have your bone sticking out. It's just a pain. So if you push here, against this side, you're less likely to accidentally pull the beads out. Also, but if you push too hard, sometimes the steel might poke your thumb. So be careful. Sorry in advance if it happens. Part of paying dues, I guess. Okay, is that close enough? And then it's a little hard to get it snug. Get in there. Okay. That seems pretty snug. Cool. So this is where we're at so far. And you can, if you want, you can either stick this in now, but then you kind of have to work around. Come on, jiggling. A jiggly pop. Sorry. Is my wire not straight? What's going on? Here we go. Okay. Usually you can kind of see when the steel is going in. Oh, and you can also see it if it goes out the other side. I went too far. Yeah. Okay. There we go. And it is bent. Sorry. Should straighten that. Muy bien. So these little terminating beads kind of act as a stopper, but they're not like perfect. See, it's coming out again, but whatever. So we are going to thread the center spacer beads, these bicones. So the interesting thing about this design is that there's no wire wrapping or bulk in the center. You don't need to, it's just so clean looking. clean and profesh. So, and because of their angular shape, they actually lock everything into place in a way. It's not like it's like doesn't move at all, but it's very interesting. So it's kind of secured. So without these spacer beads, this cross would not be a cross. It would just be, dang it. It would just be 2 bars. So those spacer beads are basically holding the cross together. Stop. Why do I keep doing that? Oh my goodness. Okay. And then we are, wait, is that the right color? Whatever layout you do, I'd recommend laying it out on a piece of paper first or something. No! Oh, I put the wrong color. I'm so bothered right now. Why? Okay, that's not the right color. There's nothing that bothers me more than a messed up ombre or color gradient or whatever. So bothered. Okay. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna start this whole video over. Actually, I'm not. I don't feel like it. Okay, it's sticking out that end again, so just take it out. Okay, maybe I need to straighten this bicone so it covers the hole more or something. Okay, so we're gonna do that same trick again that we did for the horizontal one. So I'm just gonna scoot these wires aside. We are gonna give it a little mark and try not to cut the wires. That'd be really sad. You'd have to start over. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark it and then let's go like a little bit before. Maybe like 4 millimeters before. For all of you people that work with beads, do you feel like you know millimeters really well now? Like I'll see a spider and then I estimate the size of the spider butt by like bead size. I'm like, wow, that's like a 6 millimeter freaking butt. These are beader things, I guess. Okay. I need to replace that little 3 millimeter bicone that flung away. Here we go. We're almost at the end. Dang it, I forgot to grab the crimp beads. You're gonna need crimp beads as well. Sorry. No, no. Ba-bam! So bothered by that bead. Okay, we're magically back. We have crimp beads now. Oh gosh, I need my crimp pliers and whatever. Just in case anyone doesn't have crimp pliers, I'm gonna show you what I used to do before I got crimping pliers. Okay, so you're gonna pull this pretty snug, and then just kind of, make sure everything's straight and the arms are sticking out straight. And if it is, then you can now seal this bad boy up. Man, these crimp beads are so microscopic. Okay, so you're gonna put your crimp bead over both wires. And then try and keep it pretty snug against the thing, the tip, the head, whatever. And then I like to use, when I didn't have crimp pliers, I would use round nose pliers actually, because the flat pliers might not apply enough pressure of squishing. And I just felt like this was like a pretty solid squish. So we can like test it, try and pull. Imagine it just comes right off. Yeah, that seems pretty on there. Yeah. Come on. Okay, and then I don't really know the best way to like terminate this. If you're going to have this bone structure inside, you can use beading wire, but I don't think they make beading wire thin enough to do this looping through the double wire thing and having the bone structure. So this is just what I came up with. If you guys have any better ideas, show us. Comment your ideas. I'm just going to do a double silent rage. Okay. gonna do a double, and then we are gonna crimp this a little bit, maybe like, oh my god. I'm gonna put out some extra ones. Okay. I think I might know what's happening. It's because I'm using round nose pliers. How about we'll start with this? What a freaking idiot. And then oh, maybe that's not enough space. I would say maybe like a 5 millimeter space or something, or 5. Okay. And then once we get that initial, I'm gonna do a for good measure squish with the round nose pliers. And then actually let's test it. Can I pull this off? How secure is it? It's pretty good. And just do more squishing. Okay, and then I'm gonna trim this all the way clean and see if I can, or if you have nails. I don't have nails. You can kind of open that and turn it into a loop. And we're gonna squeeze this down to stretch it out into a hole. Ba-bam! And then obviously it's gonna be bent, so just straighten it. And it's not like this is like super secure, so I don't necessarily know what the best thing is, but this is just how I hacked my way through it. And then I would rotate that. You don't want to twist thin wire too much, but I think a half twist, it'll probably survive just fine. And then I put giant jump ring. And I think this is 8 millimeter, 18 gauge. So then you could fit ribbon through here and use this as an ornament, or just attach chain or whatever. So, ba-bam! That's how these are made. There's probably, easier ways, but I just love how solid these feel. Like, they just seem like a thing, if that makes sense. But yeah. So, yeah, I think it might be easier. I saw some people doing eye loops at the end instead of this bead here. Just make a wire loop, and you would have like separate pieces of wire. And I don't know what they did with the small wires, honestly, but yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways to use crosses. This is just for that specific mystery one that people were wondering about. So there you go. Have fun. Sparkle on. I mean, is this noticeable to anyone else? This bead being wrong? Bother. So I hope that clears things up a little bit. It's once have the instructions or whatever, it's actually a pretty easy design. And it gets easier every time you make it. I've made around 6 and probably have a few more planned.
And I think if you make a bunch, you'll probably come up with even better ideas or a better method or improvements to this method. So, leave those in the comments.
Yeah, if you can figure out a better way to hang these or make it just, even better.
I'm already thinking that the way to hang it on both the original design and that was posted in Suncatchers DIY Facebook group, and you should check them out if you like Suncatchers. And so that original post that was there, and also even this one, I think like the bail is probably like the biggest room for improvement. So if you could think of something there, that might be like the next thing to do, on this design. It's always fun to see what people make.
And if you like the video, like and subscribe.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it's hard to do the videos in addition to everything else, but it's kind of fun when we have, when we know that we're, making it for an audience that is interested in it, and this came from direct, requests, so that's kind of fun to do. So, maybe we could do some more, is what I'm trying to say. What do you think?
Yeah. So, let us know if you want to see anything else, and thanks for the video suggestion. Yeah, that seems pretty on there.